The Book of Jeraneck, Chapter 7, 3 Righteous Brothers are chosen. Jeraneck was not just a prophet, he was a leader unto the people, and his name was of 2 names, and his first name was Jeraneck, but the people did not call him Jeraneck, but they instead chose to call him Amalek. For Amalek interpreted means mighty leader and ruler of men, but for the sake of this record, Jeraneck will refer to him as Jeraneck, for Jeraneck was his first name given to him by his parents, and by that of the Lord. Jeraneck was a great man and a great prophet, and in the 65th year of the people being on the land he called for a great council, and he called for all the elders and all of the high priests together, and they all came and gathered in the upper chamber of the temple, the very temple in which I now sit and compile this record, for it is a mighty chamber, the only place left in the holy house of the Lord, where I may be safe. And the chamber was a mighty chamber, full of seats and paintings, and of all the wonders and wonderful things of God, for the people were very blessed of God. And the gathered elders and high priests of the people of light were gathered and seated in the chamber, and Jeraneck sat in the high seat, and beside Jeraneck sat his 2 counselors, Brebenek and Shebenek, and they were his counselors, who with Jeraneck oversaw the running of the country, and they sat before the gathered high priests and elders. In the center of the room, on the floor, was the sign of the Urim and Thummim, and all who wished to speak, before Jeraneck, and the country, and the church, for by this time the people had formed themselves into a church, so that they might worship the Most High God. Now, anyone who wished to address Jeraneck, had first to stand in the center of the Urim and Thummim. Now all the elders and the high priests were gathered in the council chamber, and there began to be a great murmuring and chattering coming from among them, as to why they were gathered. So it was that Jeraneck stood and walked into the center of the great seal, and stood before the gathered high priests and elders and said, Behold, you have been called to this council chamber, because I have summoned you, and the Lord commanded it. For am I not his prophet? Was I not anointed by Jeraneck? Am I not God's mouthpiece? Have I not guided our people in righteousness these many years? I have news for this council, that has come from the very throne of the Lord. We are not alone upon this land, and this is the reason that the Lord has commanded this council to meet, so that we may discuss as men of God, what we should do about this news. Now sitting in the council were 3 young men, and they were the descendants of Jeraneck, the same Jeraneck that was the mouthpiece of Jeraneck, and these 3 young, brave men were of mighty stature. They were great hunters for the people, and they were well known by the people, for their great skill with the bow, and their faithfulness in the Lord. Now they were indeed the very descendants of Jeraneck, and they were moved by the Spirit to go forth, and find the people that Jeraneck had spoken of, and take to them the gospel of the Most High. The eldest of the 3 descendants of Jeraneck stepped up and walked forward unto the seal of the Urim and Thummim, and he stood as if being encircled about by the hosts of heaven, and the willingness of his spirit shone forth for all to see. As he began to speak, the room fell silent, and the words that he spoke filled the room, and the Spirit of the Lord shut the mouths of the doubters, for this young man's name was the very name of his ancestor. His name was Jeraneck, and all the days of his life he lived as the Lord wished, for his name was a constant reminder to him of the Lord, and the great work that the Lord had given his forefathers to do. And he spoke, saying, My name is Jeraneck, I am a descendant of the same Jeraneck that spoke for the prophet Jeraneck, and I have prayed unto the Lord these many days to be able to stand before this council, and tell you of the things of my heart, for the Lord has revealed to me in a dream, that there are people north of this great city, who were also brought to this land by the power of the Lord, and myself and my brethren wish to go and seek them out, and bring them down to our city and among our people, so that we may join together and become one people. When Jeraneck had finished speaking to the council were silent. During this silence Jeraneck stood forth and walked forward again onto the Urim and Thummim, and took hold of Jeraneck and kissed him on both cheeks, and declared him worthy of the Lord, and he also declared Jeraneck's brethren worthy, to go forth on their mission, to find the people of the north, and bring them to the people of light, so that they may be joined as one people on the face of the land. Now the council that was called went on for many hours, and the discussions and pleadings unto the Lord were great, and Jeraneck oversaw all of these things, for he was a great man and a great leader.